Well, thank you all for having us. I'm glad to be here today at Biotown. It's been many, many years since I was here last. This is a beautiful facility. Thanks for the great dinner, and thank you all for having us here to talk today. That was scary. Again, my slide changed somehow too, a little on color, so I'm going to do my best on seeing it. But the topic I was asked to speak about: nutrient recovery systems, reasons and results. Do I have a thing? Am I supposed to have a thing? I don't want to get close to that because Matt. Yeah. No. Okay. I'll try one. Which one? Wrong one? That one? No. Yeah. There we go. I'm gonna try to stick to my slides because I'm not a great public speaker, but I'm an awesome talker. So if I don't stay focused, I get off into the weeds really bad. So why are nutrient recovery systems needed? I felt like I needed to make that an acronym instead of spelling it out every time. But there's probably a million other government things that NRS stands for. So it looks really pretty cool. Most waste by volume in any system is water. I know of very little manure systems out there where organic matter, nutrients, make up over 50% by volume. Nutrients and organic matter, of course, are very valuable. Organic matter is difficult to put a value on to most people, even farmers that understand organic matter has fantastic benefits. But when you go and try to sell them organic matter, they're not going to buy it. At least I've never found one that will do that. However, we all know nutrient holding capacity, water holding capacity goes up quite a bit when you can increase your soil organic matter. But getting anyone to pay for it is hard to do. Nutrients, proper soil nutrition are becoming a key topic as growers and consumers alike become more aware. And notice I capitalize this: sustainable practices, right? 10 years ago, it was just a buzzword. In today's world, us folks on the ground, we're really trying to live it. And so what does sustainable mean? That could be a discussion in and of itself. What's practical to be sustainable? What's possible to be sustainable? What are the values that consumers are truly willing to pay for something that is produced in sustainable practices? All of those things, again, that could be a discussion on its own. Manure nutrients, and someone mentioned it earlier, they are the original fertilizer, right? They are the most compatible to soil health needs. And in the US, we kind of got away from that for many years. And now as animal numbers become more concentrated on individual operations, people started to look at manure as a problem. But most growers understood it's an opportunity. When we first started our farms in '99, for the first couple of years, we'd call these big meetings, and there were animal nutritionists and animal care experts, and the whole meeting was about how do we make milk and keep the cows comfortable. At about 3 years in, the meetings changed and the focus changed. And the focus became, how do we handle the manure as an asset? How do we monetize manure? And this is one of the things that plays very well into our sustainable practices. I hit the wrong button again. Again, most manure waste in a dairy system, especially dairy system, is water. Even straight out of the cow, 85%. So every manure system is different. Each system creates a different manure characteristics. Manure characteristics are firstly dictated by the cultural processes in the barn, or practices in the barn. So are you sand bedded? Well, when the manure comes to you, it's going to be a little thicker. If you're trying to get the sand out to reuse to go back to the barn so that you can go into a digester, it's going to be thinner because you've had to use a lot of water to separate the sand out. Are you fiber bedded? Are you water or rubber bedded with sawdust fiber filler? Or is it a California system? Or is it some system I don't know anything about because I don't get off the farm much? And I thank you for the invite so I could at least get off the farm. So manure characteristics and process pathways are considerations as to the last step of nutrient recovery, right? So what you do in the barn dictates everything else. And if you make a change in the barn, it's going to change everything else on down the path. There's going to be very few things that are not impacted by that change. Here just recently, we changed from sand to fiber bedding. And we've had to make quite a few changes in our manure handling systems to deal with that change. Most of them have been positive, but we have had to relearn a few things. And then the last, real question that everyone has to ask themselves when you're getting ready to implement a nutrient recovery system is, what are you as the operator wanting or desiring in your system? When we first started separating nutrients, we went through trials and research and discovery, and we had people in, we had equipment in, and we ran pilots, and there were a lot of people telling us, well, we're going to give you clean water. And we put their system in and it fouled, it didn't work, or it plugged up. And we found that, hey, our biggest concern in our soil type in our area was phosphorus. So that was the first thing we wanted to do. We found that we could pull phosphorus out consistently. So that was the first thing we wanted to do because we had a large enough land base, we could deal with the rest of it. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't slowly creep up on phosphorus, and we knew it was repeatable. We ran them enough, we did enough research to understand that we could do the phosphorus recovery day in and day out and not give us a lot of trouble. I'm not going to say trouble-free because anything in the manure world is not trouble-free. Anything in the animal world is not trouble-free. Anything in the human world anymore is not trouble-free. I myself am not married any longer, but I do have 3 daughters. I understand these things. So anyway, what we decided to put in was dictated by what we knew we could make run every day. We didn't quit watching and learning and reading and researching. Oh, what did I do? Okay. So again, what do you guys want to do? What as an operator, what are your reasons for wanting a nutrient recovery system? Are they simply regulatory? Or is it about the money and the return on investment? But that's not a problem. Okay. Do you have all the information you need to make the decisions on nutrient recovery system? Is one person coming to your operation and trying to sell you a system? Have you talked to the many, many other companies and the different specifics that are available in today's world, the different technologies that are available? Have you talked to them? Can they give you what you're looking for at a price you're willing to accept? One of the places you can get more information, I don't know, they don't seem to hit the news a lot, but in the dairy world, and a lot of this technology crosses over, there's a website and a group of people called Nutrient, and it's not visible very well, but www.nutrient.com. That is an information clearinghouse on all the technologies surrounding manure. Okay, there's digester developers and designers. There is the gas upgrading system developers and designers, nutrient recovery system developers and designers. And you get on that website and you can spend days on there going through and looking at what's available. Contact as many people as you feel comfortable with and go through and make those decisions. But you make those decisions based on experience and education. Visit other farms, visit research facilities. Of the American Biogas Council, again, here I'm supposed to be talking mainly about nutrient recovery systems, but the American Biogas Council is a group of the digester developers. And then, of course, university extension specialists. I've been working with the good folks at Purdue, who at halftime are leading right now, by the way, but only by 1 point. So what current infrastructure do you have or can you utilize? You know, what are the manpower units, the brain power? To me, that's the first one, and that's why I put it first. Are you willing to dedicate people and their time and their effort to operating these systems? Because very few of these systems are plug and play. Okay, over the years, we've bought one thing to have to deal with manure. Plugged it in, wired it in, plumbed it in, turned it on, and it worked. The rest of them, we have to farmerize, right? So I'm not smart in the least, but you can ask everybody who works with me, I'm very persistent. So that's where I win generally. Lagoons, pits, what do you have already? Solid separation systems for fiber. You know, and even in solid separation systems, what kind of solid separation system, what screen size, all that will help dictate what happens after the fiber recovery units. If you put too large a fiber through and don't capture enough because you're making enough for your animals, that sounds great, but in the nutrient recovery system, that can really mess with you. Solid storage pads, and of course a digester. And I mentioned digester because, again, I went wrong way. The question, to digest or not to digest. Okay, digested manure has had the mucoid structure broken down, making it easier for certain nutrient recovery systems to function. Okay, I have no clue what mucoid structure means, but it really sounds like I do, so I shouldn't have admitted that. But digesters break down that structure, right? So they're breaking up the volatile fatty acids, they're breaking up the starches and the sugars, and it allows that liquid to be less viscous after the digester, right? So nutrient recovery systems don't want to get slimed up. And certain systems are way more susceptible to it than others. Digesters also serve, and a lot of guys forget about this, digesters also serve as a giant mixing tank, because that's what they are. All right. Nutrient recovery systems want a very homogeneous feed, because things happen culturally in the barn that change the feed. So if you don't have a digester that's working as a big blending pit, or if you don't have a big reception pit that is doing a good job of blending, and you try feeding, the difference in just 2 or 3% solids can really mess up your nutrient recovery system. So that is also a big benefit of a digester. You know, you may have just bedded and overbedded your solids or even your sand. Well, if you're not mixing or allowing that time to be mixed, then your recovery system gets messed with. Okay. Did you flush more on a certain day or a change in a percent solids over time for some reason? So if you've got a flush system that's reflushing and you're not adding enough water, then over time you can gain 2 or 3%. Again, 2 or 3% solids can have a huge impact on your recovery system. Did you recently change the ratio in our world between milk and dry cows, or what the fancy people call a milk cow equivalent? Again, dry cow manure, their diet dictates completely different than milk cow manure. The other thing that needs to be decided is, how does the individual process ownership affect the operation as a whole? As we are getting companies aware of what we're doing, they want into our space. Okay? The big fuel companies want into our space. Concrete companies want into our space. Trucking companies want into our space. Green investment companies want into our space. Fertilizer companies want into our space. And one of the most common questions I get from people all across the country is, how do we get all these processes to work and not fight each other? Because in a system, you could own the cows, you could own the digester, you could own the nutrient recovery system, and you could own the gas upgrading system. And the dairy farmer, he just wants to get his manure out of the barns or out of his pits to the digester. Well, if the digester is not running right or isn't being fed at a consistent rate that is equivalent to what the dairy farmer needs to get rid of, then we've got people upset. If the nutrient recovery system can't take it fast enough, and the digester guy is sitting there with the digester filling up, compressing his headspace, now we have a problem in the digester, right? Who has heard of and or blown up a digester, right? A lot of people. So we don't want that. Nobody wants that. I really generally say it's not if a digester is going to blow a lid, and you folks on this side of the room do not listen. It's when. It's not if, it's when. Okay. You can put all kinds of controls in place for your pressure, and Mother Nature is going to mess with you. The electronics are going to mess with you. So anyway, see, I got off. Now I got to go back and look. If you digest, and it all goes back to what I said. If you digest, who controls the influent and the effluent rates? If you digest, what digester pressure controls are in place? That's huge. And the word GUS is in parentheses there. For me, that's gas upgrading system. Wait, your gas upgrading system's running along wonderful. You know, injecting 800 cubic feet a minute, pipeline quality gas, and everybody's just thinks the world is fantastic and there's never going to be a problem. And then all of a sudden, there's a fuse this big that blows and shuts that plant down. Well, if he was holding you at a 1/2 inch of water column, but your pop-offs, manual weighted pop-offs, are set at 2.5, then that 2-inch difference in water column across a 300 by 300 foot digester, that's a lot of liquid coming at you right now. And it's not slow coming at you, it's coming at you right now. You got about 20 minutes to deal with that. So do you have controls in place to handle that surge? And that surge definitely messes with your fiber recovery system. It definitely messes with your nutrient recovery systems after that. You know, so what agreements are possible, what is practical for the different nutrient recovery systems and their off takes, because again, somebody else could own the nutrient recovery system. So here's a few in my discussion. I don't know that I hit them all, because our technology today, because computers 20, 15 years ago were changing daily and upgrading daily. Well, now we're in that world. Okay, nutrient recovery systems, the technologies used, the off takes, how we get to where we're getting, it's changing by the day. Okay, so I may have missed a lot here. I'm just going to do the best I can. Micro nano filtration technology, so FORO, UF, flocculation, DAF technology to MD presses or centrifuges. That's what we currently are running and have been for a few years. Centrifuges without polymers or flocculants. There's a lot of them being ran. Centrifuges with polymers and flocculants. A few people mess with those. I myself don't like them. Belt or plate and frame filter presses, staged lagoon variations, ammonia harvest to liquid ammonium sulfate, the new Varcor systems, hybrid systems that use components together to make a tailored process. One of the systems I'm going to show you is a hybrid system. And then biochar technologies. Folks, that biochar thing is a big deal. I don't know, and of course, if I don't know, there's a lot of smart people that they probably do know. But biochar could make a big difference in a lot of ways in a lot of places. We've started visiting operations and research facilities. I've been doing a little bit more reading and white paper research myself, and it's like printing cation exchange capacity for your soil. It'll capture a lot of stuff. I think it's a big deal. Could be wrong. Maybe it's too expensive. Don't know. So the only thing I can talk about is what I have some experience with. The only thing I feel comfortable talking about anyway. We set out back in 2003 trying to separate phosphorus. In that process between 2003 and about 2014, we were always running DAF tanks, maybe not very successfully. 2003 and 14, yeah. But in there somewhere, we decided to add a centrifuge to deal with my DAF float, the DAF sludge. It was the worst 18 months of my freaking life. But I'm not going to say it was all the centrifuge's fault, because trying to pump air-entrained manure, and many of you didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know it either. But trust me, trying to pump air-entrained manure is very, very difficult. We couldn't find anything that would give me a consistent flow, because every time you tried to pump that stuff and that air-entrained manure was met with any kind of force, rotational force, down force, what happened? The air was trying to escape. When the air tried to escape, the manure went everywhere except for where it was supposed to go. So anyway, again, I hate our experience with centrifuges. A lot of people have no issues with them. And that's probably because they're doing it right. And they're probably not trying to pump air and train into them. In 12, we tested several different DAF tanks, belt filter presses, plate and frame presses, screw presses, and centrifuges. I plugged up a Centrisis centrifuge that stood about 10 foot tall and was about 14 foot long. I plugged that thing up so tight with 20 gallons a minute of infeed that we hooked a payloader on one end and we hooked a tow truck on the other end to try to get the scroll out of the inside. When the tow truck turned the winch on, he just dragged the centrifuge and the payloader all the way out of the building. So we had to load it up and send it back to the place plugged. Felt pretty bad about that. Anyway, again, being centrifuges have not gotten along. But again, a lot of people do. 2014-15, we added our Trident process system, which is a DAF and MD press system. There's a blurry picture of that. And I thought it looked really good when I put it on there. Then I made it a little bigger, I guess. And now it looks really bad. That is about my eyesight, I guess, but still. These are the MD presses. So we went with MD presses to dewater the DAF float for a couple of reasons. There is 9 MD presses there for a total of about 18 horsepower. To dewater the sludge I create every day with the DAF tanks, it would take about 500 horsepower worth of centrifuge. And I'm doing it with 18, doing the same job with 18 horsepower, saving over $250,000 in electricity a year by using these MD presses. MD presses don't get a little wobble and shut down. It takes 45 minutes to shut down. MD presses are very consistent. Okay. I like them. We take that cake, by the way, that's being made. We go to the north end of our farm to a fertilizer plant. We agglomerate that nutrient cake with conventional ground fertilizers, and we create a homogeneous blended fertilizer marketed now with Gypsoil is the name of the company that's marketing that stuff. So our Trident, I put a little bit of data in here. It's not like we're going to pay big attention to it, but I'm backwards here. Digester effluent to DAF reduction. We're pulling about 81% of our phosphorus out of the liquid stream with our current system. So one that has been tested at our facility quite a bit is a digested organics filtration system. They've come in and they've set up after our DAFs. So they would take the DAF effluent and run it through their systems. UF, ultrafiltration, stainless steel tubular membranes. They get really fancy with the slide they sent me. No internal moving parts, 10+ year membrane life. They've been successful at it at a pilot level. They're building a huge facility in Wisconsin as we speak. I believe, and you folks may know different, this is the group that got the first discharge permit in Wisconsin. And that's a big deal. Okay. Again, you talk about hybrid systems over there in the corner. They call that the SRDU, solids removal and dewatering unit. And what that is a flock tank hooked to those MD presses so that he can kind of do the same things my DAF tank does. There's a picture there of a guy holding the nutrient cake, and then they take the pressate from the MD presses and they run it through all of their RO, FO, UF filtration technology. Again, remove 99% of molecules less than 1, whatever that means. I really should have looked that up. But I think that's pretty small. Okay. So again, I think that's a picture of one of their systems, sub-induction time reverse osmosis. Here's a picture, unique sequencing batch RO technology, okay? Very high water recovery. And here is a picture of the different levels. And I have drank that water. So, they're removing nitrogen, they're removing the potassium and the phosphorus. It's a total nutrient harvest system, and they can create drinking water with their system. Is that what you want? Is that what we need to go to? Time will tell. There's their ammonia recovery system. It's a stripping tower system with some with media in there. Everybody's media is different. You know, could look like little wiffle balls. It could look like the plastic golf balls, practice golf balls you use. You're looking for exchange sites on the media. Theirs is a self-cleaning design, which that's fantastic. Now we talk about centrifuges as one of the options. Okay. This is just a general picture of centrifuges, how they're fed, and it's all about G-force. Here's a GIA centrifuge. I'm not sure what farm that's at, but it's probably one of our sister farms. The operating principle behind a centrifuge, if any of you don't understand it, but we all should by now, especially if we've been in ag for any amount of time. I don't know if you want to read all that. The separation of solid and liquid is all about G-force, right? So these modern centrifuges can get you, it says in here, they can get you 14, 15 times forces of gravity to throw the solid to the outside. And on average, a centrifuge, again, it takes a little bit of horsepower, but on average, without polymer or ferric, you're gonna get somewhere between a 40 to 60% reduction of phosphorus just running the centrifuge. You add either polymer or some ferric chloride, depending on your parts per million, and you can bring that number up. Running a centrifuge with polymer, you've got to generally use a lot more polymer than what we would use on our DAF tank systems because the shear messes with that polymer, and so you've got to use a lot more polymer. It makes it a little bit cost prohibitive. Total N ranges vary based upon the in-feed percent solids because you're generally just capturing the solids, so it would be the organic fraction of nitrogen, not the ammonia. Ammonia and K capture is generally less because they're dissolved solid. So I said that a couple different times in different ways. Full nutrient separation. Is that what we're really after? Okay, is your operation need full nutrient separation? Can you recover the costs that are involved with nutrient separation? And by full nutrient separation, I mean go all the way to clean water. So in most scenarios, concentrated nutrients, of course, are way more valuable than just the water. The only person in our area making any money hauling manure is the guy hauling manure. Okay, the farmer's not making any money on him hauling manure. So we need to concentrate those nutrients so that we can increase our value. Again, monetize manure. Now, people in arid climates might argue that potable water, irrigatable water is also very valuable. So a system that takes you all the way to clean water may not be as attractive in the Midwest for some people as it is in New Mexico, California. Okay, where water rights, people are still shooting each other out there, for God's sakes, for water rights, right? I heard that anyway. Can't believe everything you read on the internet. But either scenario creates value, of course. Technology used creates different nutrient forms, and each grower, again, needs to choose what is right and fits for your management and current infrastructure base, okay? So that brings me to my last technology discussion, and that's the VARCOR system. We are currently under construction for a 5-unit VARCOR system. It's a complete holistic liquid waste handling system. It's a combined drying, dewatering, solids removal, and ammonia harvest system. Okay, a little bit hard to read. But there's a little bit better. What it does, you put your liquid waste in, and on the end, you get dry solids out, and aqueous ammonia product, and clean water. All right. The real value, well, he wants to do this. So we're going to say, why is the VAR core so effective? When you apply heat, evaporation separates the solids from other components. And as it cools, the solids separate at different temperatures, allowing the separation to happen. The clean water, of course, is one product. The dry solids are another product, right? Without any other processing, the solids are going to look like this top picture. Okay. I don't know. It almost looks like leaves. Okay. Thin, rolled. If you want to go one more process, you can run it through a pellet mill, or you can just grind it to a powder. It's going to be somewhere around 90% dry matter. Here's the gold. Certified, OMRI certified nitrogen product. In the organic cropping world, the biggest barrier to yield is first year available nitrogen. Most organic producers apply nitrogen that is in the organic fraction. That takes what, 3 years is what science tells us. I'm going to say it probably takes longer than that to break down. This system makes first year available nitrogen that you can pre-plant or side dress. The game changer, to say the least. Okay. I don't know what time I'm running on, but I'm in a summary here. Again, monetized manure. Manure managed as an asset. All upcycling processes need to be managed as a system, and that goes back to how many different ownerships may be involved in the entire system. And there needs to be a management structure in place to make sure that the system runs smoothly and does not detrimentally affect the operations of the individual processes within that system. I cannot harp on that enough. Okay. Again, I'm going to highlight www.nutrient.com because that is a technology catalog that's useful for all breeds, brands, all kinds of technologies, digesters, fiber removal, nutrient removal. If you're starting your search, right there's a really good spot to start with. I believe they even have some people that you can talk to. It's not just a website that's an information clearinghouse. So that's it.
Yeah, there it is. On the chats for the VAR core, is the biogas a source of heat?
Is the biogas a source of the heat? The answer to that, it could be, but it's probably